Welcome to the Vol Boys podcast. I'm Levi, and I'm joined by Trevor.
What's up?
A lot happened over the weekend. A lot of games. Specifically, the Tennessee Volunteers played this weekend. The game, it didn't go as good as we would have liked, or as we would have expected. Tennessee won 30 to 13. Not a great game for Tennessee overall. Looked very sluggish. Just just overall not a great game. I don't know if Trevor, if you got anything to say about it.
Yeah, defense was solid. I think we gave up more passing yards than I would have liked. But overall the defense was pretty solid. They weren't put in great situations throughout the game. Uh DBs have looked good. Aaron Beasley has been a monster. I saw someone say that we need to reward the defense. And we really do. And offensively, we're just not rewarding the defense right now. Obviously, that's the biggest concern. Special teams was also a little shaky at times. Punting was cleaned up a little bit, but offensively, we're just not looking. Somehow Milton threw for 228 yards. All of those were
Yeah,
passes thrown under 10 yards. So
it's a little bit of a misleading stat
it's super deceiving. Um,
because he had a horrible game, but like if you just look at the stats, you'd think he had a really good game. But
yeah, yeah. We just honestly just looked awful. Um, Offensively. It was very disappointing. Very it got me
frustrating.
pretty upset. Yeah, frustrating. It's one of those games where like we won, but it felt like a loss.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's like it feels like it all starts with Joe, right? I mean, the offense overall looked out of sync. We were dropping balls. That's on the receivers, but we've just looked out of sync the whole season. So I'm just wondering if that's a leadership issue or something. We didn't have that in years past, right? Um, so yeah, I'm a little unsure about this offense, and
I know.
uh, yeah,
It's like it's hard because last year we had such a great offense, and now we're
hmm
just starting off so slow this year. In all fairness, though, we started off kind of slow last year. We didn't start off this slow. Like we weren't this bad at the beginning of last season.
yeah,
But it's just I don't know. The offense just it's just everything on offense other than the running backs. There really
yeah,
hasn't been a solid area on offense. The running
yeah,
backs have looked great. I can't really complain at all about the running, which I honestly
hmm
expected that. I thought we were going to be really good rushing team this year. Like it's not a surprise that we are a good rushing team.
no,
But to me, I'm just so shocked that the receivers have done such a bad job. Like they have been horrible. Like I
hmm
understand Joe Milton has not played great, and there's a lot of things he can fix, and a lot of the problems on offense is him, and I think he'll get it fixed. But right now, I think the biggest problem on offense is the receivers. But honestly, though, it could be a little bit of the O line too. They're both
yeah,
pretty bad right now.
yep,
But the
and
thing
yeah,
with the thing with the receivers though is I wasn't expecting them to be bad.
no,
I was expecting the O line to not be great this year, but I wasn't expecting the
yeah.
receivers to be bad, and that's what's really kind of throwing me off.
I mean, going into the season, we thought the receiving core was possibly the strongest on the whole team, or strongest group on the whole team, and they have just looked super flat. Dante Thornton dropped a pass. Ramel, I think, dropped a pass. So did Squirrel. Brew also dropped a couple. Uh, they haven't been great balls, but they're catchable balls, and
Yeah,
they're a lot of them are in open space, which is also really frustrating. But we just have we've had no explosive plays, which is what we lived off of last year. And I honestly think that might be the main struggle of the offense is zero explosive plays. Obviously, we're not throwing the ball down the field as of yet. And I'm also wondering if that's going to kind of throwing us off a little bit. Like, are we not able to get out of the vanilla offense? And is that throwing us off because we're throwing a screen pass every play and taking a shot every once in a while instead of getting us warmed up to taking shots deep down the field? Um, it's just it's really frustrating to see. It's not what we expected at all. Um, we knew the offense would look different this year. I just didn't think it would look this bad so far.
I wasn't paying attention to it, so I don't know for sure, but I saw somebody say that Austin P was running two safeties most of the
Hmm.
game. So some people think that a big reason why we weren't throwing it downfield the whole game was because of that, which
In big
that
game
would make
situations,
sense, but
yeah,
that if that's the case, that's not good
no, because
because
we're gonna have to take shots. You have to take shots on the field.
yeah,
It's part of any team's offense, really, and it's a huge part of our offense is explosive plays.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
I think the running's a
yeah,
bigger part of our offense. A
yeah,
lot of people don't. Most people just looking at our team think that oh last year because we just were getting all these crazy passes and stuff. But no, our offense runs through the run game. So
it does.
but
Yes,
like if we only have the run game, it's not going to work though because you still need
and
the running game
our
kind of
run
just
game has
opens
looked
up the pass
great.
game. Yeah,
Right. That's not the problem. The problem is the miscues with the wide receivers and Joe, and they're not on the
yeah,
same page right now. And well, I think we can rely on the run, and we have already through 2 games. And I think there were signs last game of miscues on offense, and they only got worse. It seems
yeah,
throughout a week. And I hope it gets better. I expect it to get better, honestly. And I'm not worried about the run blocking either. Like you said, the pass blocking has been bad. I will
yeah,
say. A lot of it, Joe is holding onto the ball too long, and that could be because of good coverage. I'm not exactly sure. But he has no mobility either, so he at times he seems indecisive, and just sits there and gets sacked. Um, so that's also not good.
yeah.
And I don't know. Looking at his statistics, he got outplayed by a FCS quarterback. Uh, their QB had 260 yards compared to our 228. Um, and also their QB had a higher completion percentage than ours. Um, running the ball, we obviously dominated on the ground. I was a little see looking at the statistics. It doesn't seem like our defense gave up 260 yards passing.
No.
Um, it's really surprising, honestly.
Yeah, no, it didn't seem honestly the whole game. I mean, there was that one deep ball pass that they made where they got a touchdown off of it, but that was really the only time I can remember being really mad at the
Yeah,
defense. I
and
mean,
that
to be
was I
fair
think
though,
that was
to be
yeah.
fair, they just made big stops. Like, for
Hmm.
instance, right at the end of the game, Austin P was like on like the 3 or 4 yard line about to
Yeah,
score, and we just stopped them.
yeah. I've noticed that this year is we've been getting off the field on third and fourth down consistently, which was a huge problem for us last year. So that's
Yeah.
great to see.
One thing that
But
sucks is teams have been going for against us on fourth down.
a
Hopefully,
lot.
hopefully that doesn't keep happening the whole year because that I don't know, it just gets frustrating
It
because
does, yeah.
it's like you've made this stop, you've stopped them on third
Yeah.
down, but then they go for it, and it's like it'd be one
And
thing
they're
if it
gonna get
happens
one
once.
eventually.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
so it's frustrating, but I mean, it's kind of a lot of teams have to play that way against us because
hmm
if our offense does get running, it's hard to catch up if we start scoring a lot. So you kind of have to take advantage of every possession if you're playing us,
yeah.
if we're playing good. So
I mean, we haven't
makes
seen it
sense.
this year, obviously, with the high powered offense, but I both teams that we've played so far have definitely respected it.
Yeah,
Um, which is good to see, but you get to a point where it's like, can we make plays, and we haven't been able to. I feel like in both games we have not been able to. And even at our worst though, we still scored 30 points.
and
Um,
49 or whatever we scored against
yeah,
Virginia.
which is it just shows
It
the
just
potential for
to
this
me
offense.
to me it just seems like they phoned it in both weeks. It didn't
Hmm.
seem really like they tried at all. And
Yeah,
I am really hoping that this is just a week 1, week 2 thing playing really bad teams because Virginia's not a good team. Austin P honestly might be a better team than you would think. They're probably a pretty good FCS team, but I mean, that's an FCS team. Neither of these teams are near the level of us. We should beat both of them by a lot. We didn't beat Austin P by a lot. We beat Virginia by a lot. And so it's just, I don't know. I feel like we phoned it in for both games because I don't think we respected either of our opponents. And the difference I think between Austin P and Virginia right now is Virginia didn't really try and do anything against us. They kind of just came into the game realizing they were going to lose and they just accepted it. Austin P did not do that. They came into the game and they gave it everything. They gave 120% in this game and they pulled out all the stops. And honestly, I don't even know if they were playing to win towards the end. I think they were just playing to make it as close as possible
Yeah,
because of the way they were playing. The coach he did the weird thing with calling all of his timeouts before the third quarter was even over, which I just thought was
yeah,
weird. You
it,
just
yeah.
you if you wanted to win the game, that's not really that smart of a game
It's
plan.
not, but I'm wondering if that strategy is going to pan out down the line. Maybe other teams pick up on it, not using all three, but
Hmm.
using one or two, because it stopped the rhythm of our offense. Like I don't know
Yeah.
if you noticed that, but like we would stall after that, after he would call a timeout. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, if we did phone in these two games, that is pretty discouraging to hear. Obviously, news came out today. Um, there was a players only meeting where Joe Milton was quoted to say that he basically takes all of the blame for the week one and week two struggles. Um, and we were talking about this earlier, but I just need to see him prove it on the field that he is a leader. You know, he's talking the talk, but can he walk the walk? You know,
Yeah.
can he step up? You know, and yeah, I mean, you got to start thinking about how long is he gonna be the starter all year if this keeps happening, or are we gonna have to turn otherwise?
And I really hope that he will be the starter till the end of the year.
Oh,
If
I
if
yes, me too.
if he isn't, the season has probably been a failure. I don't.
Yes.
I think Nico is going to be one of the best quarterbacks we have that Tennessee has ever had. But
Hmm.
I just don't. I don't think it's a good idea to start him as a freshman. I think he needs time to develop, and we need Joe to be good this year.
We
We
do.
need him, and he need. It's I think he needs this. Like he needs to do this
He
because I'm
deserves it.
really rooting for him, man.
I am too.
And
Yeah.
that's honestly, it kind of just makes me sad that he's done bad in the first two games
Yeah.
because I was really rooting for. I've been rooting for him. I'm like most Tennessee fans are rooting for him. You mean you can't really tell with some because the way some Tennessee fans have booed at him and been mean to him. His mom was on Facebook talking about how fans have been really mean recently. And so it's kind of sad when you see that, but I just would love for him to be successful, and it's just that's why it makes it that much harder. But I think he can. He has the ability.
Hmm.
It's just sometimes he has too much, too much of ability. I think he's just in his head, and so if he can get out of his head and play the game right, and kind of get a little bit of a better touch and kind of reel it back a little bit and not throw so hard, I think he'll be fine. But we honestly don't even necessarily need him to be the best player of all time. We just need him to be good enough because our defense, I think, is good enough this year to where he doesn't have to be as good as Hendon Hooker, and we can still have a very successful season.
And our run game's so strong. You know,
Yeah.
like we've got a good. I think we have more of a balanced team than this year than we have seen out of Josh Heupel. And really, what's holding us back is the pass game. That's what's so frustrating because we're used to the pass game being there when we need it.
Hmm.
We've kind of gotten spoiled to it, you know. But
Let's
I think we're just that close, you know, to
yeah.
being that complete team.
It's kind of building off of that. Let's start talking about the game for next week. This Saturday, where Tennessee's going into the swamp to play Florida. This game every year where it makes every Tennessee fan worried. It's Florida. They've had our number. We just can't seem to beat them. We've only beaten them 3 times in my lifetime, which is sad to say. We honestly we might have beaten Bama just as many times, if not more times in my lifetime, I think, which is crazy. Florida is the team that we just can't seem to beat. We won last year. We were the better team, and I'm hoping that that's going to be the same case this year. Tennessee, in my opinion, is by far the better team. They have a we have a better roster, a better coach, and we should win. But that doesn't mean that I think we are necessarily going to come out of this with a W. I do think we will, but I don't know, it's just tough. It's tough. It's in the swamp. We haven't won in the swamp since I think either 2004 or 2003. It's been my entire life since we've won in the swamp. And so it just makes me nervous, especially the way we've been playing the first 2 weeks. Really, anything could happen. Honestly, I could see us blowing them out. I could see us getting blown out. I could see it being a nail biter going all the way into the maybe even going into overtime. I don't know how this game's going to turn out. It just depends, and it really just depends on what Tennessee team you get this Saturday. But what do you think,
Yeah.
Trev?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you kind of said at the end, it's about us. I think personally. I don't think Florida's in a spot where they are uh more talented than us, like you said. We've been in this situation before where we have been the better team and we have lost. It's a huge rivalry game. It's always close, like you were saying. But yeah, it's about us. Since we are the better team, I think it is about what Tennessee team you get on Saturday. Um, I think we match up really well with them, considering they're the ones that want to run the football. We have a great run defense. It's a strength of our defense. We want to run the football. They have a good run defense. I don't think it's good enough to stop our run game. Um, and I heard someone say this: if it comes down to Graham Mertz, trying to win the game for Florida, I like our chances a lot.
Yep.
I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think Joe at his best is miles better than Graham Mertz. So who are we gonna get? Are we gonna get the team that's seemingly been looking ahead and preparing for this game all season?
Hmm.
Or are we gonna come out flat? I think we're looking at a game that's gonna be very similar to the Pitt game last year. It's gonna be a huge road test
Yep.
at night. Um, the Pitt game last year obviously went into overtime. We were able to pull it out 34-27. But if you remember, we were down early that game 10-0. I think at the end of the first quarter, we had a very slow start on offense. I think it was one of the least scoring games we had last year.
That game was definitely won by the defense.
And it was, yes, exactly.
And
Um,
I agree with you. It's probably going to be a similar game where it's going
yeah,
to be our defense that's going to win us this game. And
yeah,
I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I don't hope that I'm wrong that our defense is going to be good. I hope that I'm wrong that our offense
it's gonna
can't
be
come into
that
this
close.
game and
Yeah,
beat them. Because
yeah,
in reality, to me, if Tennessee can play at their potential that I know that they have, Tennessee should win this game by one or two touchdowns.
yeah,
But that's what I'm worried about is I don't know if we're going to play it to our potential, at least on
yeah,
offense. I'm not worried about the defense. I think the defense is going to play hard. I'm just worried about executing on offense because we
yeah.
haven't been able to do it against two teams who are worse than Florida. So
It's
that's
gonna
what I'm
be
worried
yeah.
about.
It's going to be so key to be able to get first downs on offense and move the ball a little bit. We got to give the defense a break. And I, I, I will be honest. I think offensively, I don't think I'm really hoping we're not going to struggle as hard. I really don't think we are going to struggle as hard. I think we're going to open up the playbook. I think we need to get Joe comfortable early. And if you notice, the past two games, we start by running the football, and then we get away with from it for like a whole quarter.
Hmm.
It seems to where we just barely run the football. We've had multiple three and outs where we just pass all three downs and something goes wrong.
Yeah,
We need to stick to the run game. We need to get Joe comfortable early, but I don't expect us to light up the scoreboard early. I think this is going to be a better offensive team, but we're going to be playing a better defense. I really expect it to be semi-low scoring, and I think the offense is going to look better, but we're just going to be playing a better team than we've faced all season. So I don't think we're going to struggle necessarily, but I think it's not going to be a huge start like we're hoping.
yeah,
And also offensive penalties have killed us in the past. We really, really need to make sure we're not getting behind the sticks on first and second down. Um, those are drive killers
Yeah, I'm
for any
curious.
team.
I'm curious to see if Florida fans actually show up. I mean, if Tennessee hadn't played as bad against Austin Peay, I think the likelihood of Florida fans not showing up would have been higher if we had played better. But I
Hmm.
think after our bad week, I think some Florida fans are a little bit more confident. They're like, this Tennessee team doesn't look as good as we were thinking. And while we didn't look good in our first game, we looked better in our second one. And
Hmm.
so they're like, we beat Tennessee every year. I really do think it's going to be a crazy environment. After the
Yeah.
Utah game, I wasn't thinking that, but I don't know. After our performance, I think Florida fans are actually going to show up, and which is not good for us. I'll be curious to see how we play with the crowd as intense as it probably will be, because
Hmm.
I'm worried that we could get a bunch of false starts and stuff just because of the crowd noise, and I don't know. That worries me a little bit. But
Yeah, we haven't had a road test on at night last season. I don't think we had a road test at night.
no, we did.
Um,
We South Carolina,
oh, yep,
which was
you're
a
right.
loss.
And yep, we know how bad that went. But thinking back how bad we played on the road last year, we played terrible on the road against Georgia. Obviously, everybody played terrible against Georgia last year. Terrible on the road against South Carolina. Um, Not great on the road against Pitt. We were able to pull that one out, but we
LSU
just haven't
though.
been LSU though. Yes. Um,
But the thing about that though was it was a
Noon
12
kick.
o'clock game.
Yep.
The crowd wasn't really into it, and we started off very fast.
Exactly. And we haven't seen that this year. It's going to be really key to get the crowd out of it early, but it's going to be really, really hard to. Um, I don't know. It's obviously a tough place to play. I just feel like we haven't played well on the road. We've struggled so far this season offensively, and offensively, the offense is going to be affected by the noise the most.
Hmm.
Um, it's going to be really tough. It's it's kind of a pick'em game. I'm very surprised we were favored by 6.5.
Yeah.
Really wouldn't have expected. I would have expected a field goal, maybe.
See, the thing though
Um,
is I don't think Vegas overreacts to bad weeks with teams
yeah,
whenever they perform against badly against a bad team. They don't
yeah,
usually. So I think we did go down a little bit. I think we were at like 10, a little bit more than
yeah.
10. But it's the exact same. Last year I think we were predicted to win by a touchdown too.
Hmm.
So we have the exact same spread, which means that they think that Florida's gotten worse, and we've said about the
Yeah,
same because
because we're away this year.
we're away.
Yeah, if we were at home, it would probably be 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, to like 14 to 10
Yeah,
points, I'd
yeah,
say. But I don't know.
yeah.
What do you think the score is gonna be? Like about what do you think?
Um, I'm gonna go pretty low scoring. I'm gonna go 27-24. I think we win by a field goal. Um, and I don't expect them to come back like last year's game. I think it's gonna be close the whole game.
That's one thing to look out for is if they score less than 27 points, then I think we win the game. I
Yeah,
think if our defense
yeah.
can hold them to less than around 27, and that's
Hmm.
the main reason I'm specifically saying 27 points is because Josh Heupel is yet to lose a single game keeping the opposing team below 27 points because his
Hmm.
teams generally score more than that.
Hmm.
So if our defense shows up and our offense comes in playing mediocre to slightly below average or even slightly above average, if our defense shows up, we can still win this game. That's why I feel like we still win this game. And so I'm gonna say something similar to you. I think our offense is gonna be a little bit better. So I'm gonna say Florida scores 24. I'll do the same for them, but I think we score. I'm trying to think. I think we get in the 30s, but I'm not sure how high I want to say. Maybe like 33, 34 to
Hmm.
24. I think we could win by 10 points, but I don't know. That's me being generous because I could definitely see it being a closer game. I just I don't know. I might would even go up with Florida. Might say they get like 27 points. They might get right on the 27. I don't know. It's just hard. It's hard to say for certain because I really don't know how good Tennessee's going to play. I don't think Florida's going to play great. I think they're going to play. They might play one of their best games of the season, but for them, I don't think that's going to be that great
Yeah.
because I don't think they're a very good team this
I
year.
mean,
They
they
just
just don't have any weapons on the wide receiver in the wide receiver room besides Pearsall. And if they're going to try to run the game, I mean, so the thing is, right, against Utah, they tried to run the ball, and I really don't think that they cracked 100. I think they
mhm.
had less than 100 yards rushing, and they weren't able to make plays on the outside with their receivers.
And that's supposed to be
And they just,
their best
yep,
group too.
yeah. And they were just very one-dimensional against the Pac-12 defensive line. And our defensive line is
Better than
elite.
Utah's.
It is elite. Yeah, it is better than Utah's. Our front seven is just very, very good. So they're gonna have to beat us in the air. And the thing about Austin P was they had a lot of quick passes on us. Um, but Florida's gonna have to take shots down the field, and I don't know if he's gonna have the time to do that
Yeah, I agree.
against us.
I think our defense
Yeah,
could, if we play as good as we can, I think our defense could shut them down, and they might
yeah,
score even less than what we're saying.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I think the defense will show up.
And one thing that
It
really,
just really depends on the offense for me personally.
one thing that's great about this game is we match up so much better this year than we did with last year's Florida team
Mhm.
because they can't, their quarterback
They don't have a
cannot
running back.
run.
Yeah, yeah, no running quarterback. Yep.
Last year, that game, the only reason they were in that, we should have won that game by way more than we did. The
Yeah,
only reason they stayed in that game was because of their quarterback. Their
yeah,
quarterback was able to run, and we suck at that. We sucked against Austin P. Their quarterback a few times ran when it was just like, why are you not watching the quarterback? Like
yeah,
we have everything stuffed up except for we just let the quarterback run. It's like we get everything
yeah.
else under control and then the quarterback just runs.
And that's definitely the difference between last year's team and this year's team. That's what they're missing. Because they didn't get any better, as in they didn't add anyone.
Hmm.
Uh,
Anyone that's
like
better than what they had before,
yeah, yeah. So they lost their best player and replaced him with a mid to low tier quarterback.
a guy who
Um,
could not succeed in the Big Ten.
yeah, yep,
Which I mean, you can't really say because I mean Joe Milton didn't succeed in the Big Ten, but
yeah,
in all fairness, it's been 3 years since Joe Milton was at Michigan, and he's been developed by Josh Heupel. Graham Mertz
yeah,
is just coming out of Wisconsin, and he does not have an elite quarterback coach,
yeah,
and he wasn't very good at Wisconsin. So
yeah,
I don't know. I
yeah, and
just
yeah. I think a huge thing. I kind of we can talk about maybe players of the game. But
kind of wrap this up a little bit.
yeah. I just want to say like one more thing about this, and then we can do that. But I just think Joe needs to keep his composure. It's gonna be really hard on the road. If things aren't going their way starting out, and I don't really expect us to score a lot of points in the first quarter. We've been more of a second half scoring teams thus far. And before we were hot start first half team, hung on for the second half. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, it's been a little bit more of the opposite this year, but he just needs to keep his composure when things are going bad because things aren't going to go perfect this game. We're not going to fix all of our mistakes from the first 2 weeks in this game. It's just not the week that we're gonna like. It's not the week to do it. It's gonna be a hard, hard game, and just keeping his composure, being a leader, not getting in his head, being able to make throws when he needs to is going to be huge because
Yep.
he's going to have to make some big throws this game, and he's more than capable. I think he's one of the most talented QBs in the country.
Hmm.
He just needs to get it together a little bit, and he gets hated on way too much, like you were saying earlier. But I I want nothing more than him to succeed, and I think he can. Um, and I'll never be upset with his tenure at Tennessee because he's been one of my favorite players ever since he got here.
Yeah. He's a good guy. That's why I just really hope he can get it done this year. But
Yep.
let's move on to what we'll talk about last, and we'll just talk about players we expect to. Well, here we'll say maybe I guess players that we think will be good, or players that we need to be good for the game, or like just
Yep.
I don't know. We'll give one on defense, one on offense, and then
Sure.
maybe an overall player who MVP, maybe an MVP. We'll do most important player on defense, most important player on offense, and then MVP of the game, I guess.
Okay. All
We'll
right.
start with you.
Um, I'm gonna start defensively. And I'm gonna reach into the. I mean, Aaron Beasley is an obvious choice. But I'm not worried about him. He's gonna do his own thing. All right. Let's go to the secondary though. Um, let's go to the. Uh, let's see. I'm gonna go Kamal Haddon. All right.
Good choice.
Um, he has, in my opinion, been much improved, especially since the South Carolina game where he got burned. I was thinking he was going to transfer because he was talking a lot of trash. The coaching staff was not happy with him. Uh, wow. His passing coverage has improved drastically. If you see every time, and teams still try to pick on him, is the crazy part. I mean, I feel like he's been targeted the most out of anyone
Yeah.
so far. Um, but he's typically stride for stride with the receivers he's facing. Obviously needs to get that head turned around a little bit, but I mean, you can talk about that all you want, but defensive backs in general have a tough time getting their head turned around. It's a very common thing we see in college, especially. But I mean that separates the elite from the great. You know, great players are good in coverage. Elite players get their head around, and we did see him get his head around and get an interception last week. Uh, but if teams continue to throw his way, he needs to prove, why he's our, number one corner. Um, and I look for him to have a big game. It's going to be huge for the defense to be able to get turnovers against this Florida team. Getting an interception or two against Graham Mertz would be huge. I look for him to have a big game, especially if he keeps getting targeted. But keep an eye on Wesley Walker. That guy's a beast. Yeah, I think he has 2 sacks already this year.
hmm
Couple of tackles
He's
for
good. He's good
loss.
at blitzing.
Great at blitzing. And he's got one. He's definitely one of my favorite players for sure. Offensively, I'll kind of make this quick. Let's keep an eye on Jalen Wright. Big game ahead of him. And I love the three-headed monster. I feel like Dylan Sampson didn't get that many touches.
He only got 4.
Jabbar, yeah. Jabari's impressed me a lot this year. I feel like it was really underrated coming in because I feel like everybody was just focused on Jalen Wright. But Jalen Wright's got to have a big game for us to win this one, and I think he will. I think look for him to go over 100. Let's just my MVP. Let's go. We're gonna go wide out. Um, obviously, obviously Joe Milton. We need him to have a good game, but let's go wide receiver. Uh, I want to see more of the Squirrel and Joe connection that we saw last year because we haven't seen it at all this year. I'm really hoping Squirrel has a couple deep shots that maybe make the difference in the game.
hmm
Uh, look for him to have some big plays because I think he will be targeted down the field. He's too quick to not be used. Uh, so yeah, I'll go with Squirrel as my MVP. Maybe he has a Jalen Hyatt type game. Uh,
Against.
I would love to see that out of him. So.
All right. I'll start with defense. I don't know, it's a little bit harder. I was gonna say Kamal Khan, like what you said, but I mean, of
Mhm.
course, I can't give the exact same answer that you gave, and I don't want to say Aaron Beasley because I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
He's like the. I honestly
He's the
would.
best player on the defense.
I might would go as far to say he might be the best player on the team. Like he's
Yeah.
like it's. I mean, there's a lot of good players on the offense, but
Yeah.
he might
I
be the
think
best
he's
player on the team.
single-handedly leading the country in tackles for loss right now.
Yeah, he's insane.
Yeah.
If he doesn't go first round in the draft, some team's gonna get really lucky getting him late. But I think there's a
Yeah.
chance if he keeps playing the way he's playing, he could go in the first round next year. But I don't know. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to say because I think we need Kamal Hadden to have a good game, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I guess I'm just gonna say Kamal Hadden. I'm just gonna go with the same answer as you because
Yeah.
we need him to have a good game. Because if Florida starts being able to pass all over us, it's gonna be much harder to stop them. If he can play good pass coverage and be able to turn around and catch some interceptions, that'll help us so much in this game and it'll make it so much easier to win. And then on offense, a player we need, which I don't know if they have announced that he's even playing, but if I think he is, I think he's going to
Who?
play. Cooper Mays needs to make a massive difference this week
Mm-hmm.
because the offensive line has been pathetic. They have
Mm-hmm.
played two very bad teams and played mid at best. So I we need Cooper Mays to really help, and I think with him there, it'll get everything where it needs to be because Ollie Lane will be able to move back to where he needs to be, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone will be back in the position that they need to be, and we won't have to use backup offensive linemen as much. I'm sure
And
they'll still rotate
yeah,
in, but
and we're most likely looking at less false starts and less offensive line penalties in general.
yeah, we really need Cooper Mays to be in this game and be able to play close to 100% as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the player on offense that we need the most, I think, for this game to go the way because I mean, if Joe Milton doesn't play a good game, we can still have Jalen Wright run for how many ever yards he's going to run. But we still need the offensive line to be able to block for Jalen Wright. So it's very important, and I think that's probably the position that's the person that we need to succeed the most on offense this coming game. And then MVP of the game, I'm gonna go with Jalen Wright. I think Jalen's going to ball out. I think he's gonna see the opportunity that the offense, the passing game has just not been there, and he's gonna take this opportunity against Florida to light it up against a very good rushing defense. But I think he's going to be able to overcome their defense and and get a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns this Saturday. But that's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we need him to be able to win this game. We need the run game to be good. I mean, we're not going to be able to rely on the pass game. So,
Yeah. And with that being said, that'll conclude this episode of the Vol Boys podcast. And hopefully Tennessee will be able to get it done this Saturday. But with that being said, I'm Levi, and this is
I'm Trevor.
Trevor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
that wasn't really well communicated,
right.
but with that, we will end this podcast. Talk to y'all
Hey,
next week. Like,
big announcement coming soon. All
yeah,
right, let
big
me on the
announcement coming
lookout for it.
soon.
Yes, sir. Channel's expanding. All right.
Hopefully.
Yes, sir. All
All right. Talk to
right.
y'all later.
Go
Peace
Vols.
out. Go Vols.